Okay, let's take a closer look at what the city of Portland is thinking for their North Rosa Parks Way project. This is the project we wrote about just over a month ago. That's going to piggyback on a repave that they're doing from Willamette on the west here all the way east to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. PBOT is taking that opportunity to make the street safer and update it. And they're going to add, the big theme is that they're going to add a parking protected bicycle lane right here in the space that used to be on-street parking that they found was very low utilization rate. So let's just take you through from the west here at Willamette. They have made some changes since last month where they've further narrowed the driving space leading into this sharp corner. They've done that by bulbing out the bike lane buffer here. And keep in mind too that these white dots are those going to be those plastic delineator wads that they're using to sorry, did I say wads? Those plastic delineator wands that they're using to make the bike way safer. So let's move east here and see how else things have changed. Again, this driving space is a lot narrower than it is today, so that should have a good impact of slowing people down, as one of the main problems on Rosa Parks in this section is that people just go too fast. So here you are at the at the intersection with Curtis. Again, you can see this narrowing down at the intersection while you're also widening the protective space for the cycling movement. And again, this is how PBOT is adding the parking spaces here that are sort of floating in the road, they like to say. So moving further east, the big change we've noticed in the since we last saw this in February is this new crossing treatment here. This is Villard. So the intersection of Rosa Parks and North Villard is going to get two median islands here in the middle, which are going to help make the crossing safer for everyone. And they're also going to add zebra striping, crosswalks. So further moving east here towards Atlantic, another small change we noticed in the last month is they're adding this stripe here, which I like because it's further narrowing the visual space of how much room you have to drive, which naturally makes people take their foot off the gas a little bit, which is one of the main things we're trying to do here with this stuff. So moving further east, getting to Greeley is the next big change worth noting. This is where there's a high volume of right turning drivers that go south here. They're going from St. John's and Willamette Boulevard. They're in this right turn only lane, and there's a lot of people who turn right here to go south to get to I-5. So PBOT didn't feel comfortable with this movement, so they're going to make a new bike only signal here, as you can see in their graphic. What that's going to do is separate the signal phases so that if you're here on a bicycle, you're going to have to wait for green, but when you get that green, nobody else is going to be able to move. So that means you won't be competing for space with drivers, and that should eliminate any right hook problems. Another difference I noticed in the last 30 days is this used to not have a parking space, now it does. Again, PBOT's just making small tweaks as they get feedback from residents and people that are taking their survey and business owners and whatnot. So I expect to continue to see design changes as this project goes on. So let's see, further moving east here, looks like things are pretty much the same. I'm going to just pause for a second while I get my graphics in order. Okay, sorry about that. This is a bit of a new format, so I'm just trying to get everything sorted. So continuing to move east, we're going to move all the way to Delaware here. Things haven't changed too much in this section. Continue to see the striping changes, and then we're going to stop at Delaware, and then we'll pick it up in just a second here. Okay, at this point you'll notice the graphic changed a little bit, which is, it's kind of neat. They've left the existing striping while they're showing the new striping. So let's take a look at, we're now at North Delaware, continuing to move east. This graphic will get us to Denver. So as you can see, take a look at how they're swapping this. So the curbside lane used to be all for on-street parking that was used by folks that live here, but as you can see, they all have driveways and side streets, so it's really not necessary to have them in the curb lane. So PBOT is swapping that, putting it out here. So continuing to move east, you can see, again, bike lane on both sides, slight changes here, but keeping basically the very similar profile striping-wise. They're just, again, swapping the parking and biking lanes. Continuing to move east now, we're at Omaha, getting to Newcastle. Things are pretty standard through here. Let's see, we're going to come up to Denver, which is kind of the next larger order cross street. And there's not a huge change at Denver. So let me just switch over and we'll be at Interstate. Sorry about this. So this is Denver here. popular corner where you've got a big taco burrito joint here everybody likes to use. So here's a good illustration of how the parking lane is going to be swapped with the bike lane. So let's move east from Denver and see what they've got in store, passing Campbell, coming up to Fenwick. You can see some work they did in the last couple years. I think it was 2013 or 12 or so where they added already some refuge islands, and that's when they put in the existing bike lanes. Here's a big crossing with Concord, which is an existing neighborhood greenway. So not much changes there. And as we get closer to interstate is going to be the next change worth noting. This is a huge, this is the biggest cross street of the whole project. So as you can see, it looks like all they're doing here is just planning on putting some green in the bikeway. Unfortunately, it looks like there's not a lot of wands right here at the intersection that are going to go in, so not going to have those plastic bollards. That's not super ideal. We were hoping to see them do more here, but we'll have to track it and see what ends up being the final design. Okay, now to the other side of Interstate. Now this whole section is interesting because it's only a few blocks from Interstate 5. And I'm pretty disappointed to see that they haven't changed the profile really at all from what's there now. This is all exactly the same from what's there now. The reasoning being is that anytime you get close to a freeway, guess what? They have to get everything approved through ODOT. So it looks to me like they haven't wanted to do much here in terms of changing the existing striping. That's unfortunate because it's a very auto-dominated space and it doesn't feel super good to ride here as it is now today. I guess the only thing they're doing is that they're going to add a buffer stripe and a buffer zone and then put up some of these plastic delineator wands. That should help some, but it's still a very auto-dominated space, so I don't see that changing with this project, unfortunately. And here's one of the 4 on and off ramps that go onto I-5. Right here, again, doesn't look like anything's going to change too dramatically here, although if this is being repaved, and I do think it is being repaved, that will help just because right now the potholes and stuff and the cracks in the road make it even that much more unnerving to ride. Unfortunately, the potholes actually slow people down. So if it's smooth, then people will probably go a little faster, but oh well. So again, here's the striping, very much staying the same to what is there today, adding some of these plastic wands, which would be great. I live about half a block from here. I'm not going to show my house because it's creepy, but this is a real big problem. I mean, you have ODOT that has this huge turning radius here right where we live and walk. That's obviously to facilitate truck turning onto the freeway, but again, in this project doesn't look like anything's going to be done to address that. So moving east, we just cross here, Michigan Neighborhood Greenway, moving east toward Peninsula Park. You can see that they are swapping the bike lane and parking lane again as they are throughout this project. Coming up on the intersection of Mississippi here. And then as we get closer to Albina, we see the next big change that they've just showed as of Friday, which is this really nice transit island. Glad to see them doing this kind of thing. This is going to keep the bus servicing customers is going to stay right here in the main roadway without servicing against the curb, so you won't have any bike-bus conflict, and they're going to keep the bikeway behind the transit island. So this should have a good positive impact on transit users, transit efficiency, and also it'll help slow people down because when you have a big piece of concrete in the middle of the road, people tend to drive less quickly. So continue to move east between Albina, and then we get into Peninsula Park. Things are pretty standard. You just have your parking protected bike lane all the way to basically all the way to MLK, and we'll get to that in just a sec. Okay, picking it up again, heading east. Things are pretty standard from what we have there today. Again, of course, they're just swapping the 2 lanes where they're going to put the bike lane where the parking is now. Actually, looking at this a little more closely, looks like they may just be keeping the bike lane on the north side of the street. We'll have to keep our eyes on that to see what's actually going to play out on this part of the project. So moving east, I think we are just crossing here. Let's see, where are we? Cleveland, Vancouver, just crossing Vancouver here. This is Williams here, so just to orient you, this is the Williams Neighborhood Greenway crossing. Not a huge difference from what's there now. Again, you're going to see delineator wands coming in as part of this project. The next big difference that we're going to see is a median island here at, I believe this is Rodney. So the crossing of Rodney is going to get this nice island. Again, Rodney is a neighborhood greenway street that a lot of people use as a north-south connector. So this is going to help make that crossing better. It's also offset, which means it tees here and then you have to come across. So that's inherently a little less safe. So they're adding this as a way to help people make that crossing. So we're almost to the end of the project, and we're going to get to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and you'll see the last sort of big difference in what's there now is going to be a green bike box to help make this corner a bit safer. Now, we've heard from neighborhood residents and the neighborhood association of Piedmont who are really concerned that an existing curb extension right here on the corner of Rosa Parks and MLK is going to be removed as part of this project. We've asked PBOT about that, haven't gotten the answer or haven't gotten much of an answer yet. They're really concerned about that because right below that is a new affordable housing project that's going to have 70 units in it very soon, and they think that removing a curb extension that's already there is not a good move. We have heard some things about why they want to remove it, but we're trying to confirm that with PBOT right now. Okay, thanks for checking in on this latest update on this project.